afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of season two of Coffee with Ashish. And today we've got a very special guest with us, Abhinav Kumar, who's joined us from all the way from Düsseldorf, Germany. And
Now I'm France in Strasbourg.
that's nice.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Uh, before we get into conversation with him, and he needs no introduction, right? We all have had a unique relationship, for lack of a better word, with him. All of us relate to him in some way or the other, some in a more extreme way, and the others in a more profound way. But I think he, in many ways, is a living testimony of the fact that how the entire product marketing and positioning, especially in the travel space and at large in the internet ecosystem, has changed not only in India but around the world. And I think I always believed, and just for your reference, Abhinav, I do not come from a travel industry background. And as an outsider, when I got involved in this industry, I found out that there is very limited differentiation in terms of what one sells, right? There's same set of hotels. I'm talking about from the point of view of if you're a meta search or an aggregator or an online booking platform, you've got similar set of product inventories, similar set of tools at your disposal. And I think the only differentiator is how you position yourself and how customers perceive you. And I think that at the end of the day really matters in this industry. And I think people like yourself have really taken it up the notch. And I think for those of you who know a little bit, not a lot about Abhinav, most of you know him as the Trivago brand ambassador. He needs no introduction on that. And he's also referred to as Mr. Trivago or the Trivago guy. I remember when I was in, and I think there's also a version of Trivago girl, which I found a lot in Europe and UK, Gabrielle Miller, the Australian.
Yeah, Gabriel, yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting concept with the way Trivago did it. And but he was just not the face of the Trivago brand on social media, but he behind the scenes he also played a very important role in Trivago. He was actually the country manager. Not a lot of people knew it. Abhinav, and I'm sure you get this a lot, that most of the people thought that you were just a model for the company, but I think you were. It's really interesting to know that you were really the country manager for India, and you were responsible for the growth in this market for the brand. And it was done in a very data-driven and a test-proven mechanism. So many people just thought it's just flood the market with those ads and just spray and pray, but there was a lot of maths and science behind it, which I'm sure Abhinav would share with us. But apart from that, Abhinav also oversaw and sort of found solutions for this growth story in a very unique, mobile-dependent and responsive audience and the millennials. As a quick background, he is an economics graduate from University of Toronto, and he's also got a first-hand experience in buying both online and offline media for more than a decade now. And online video has been a key part of this strategy due to a huge difference between TV and internet penetration in India and other markets. Currently, he's working with Paytm as vice president for product marketing, but all in all, a marketing guru and a genius, as we all know him. So with this, a very warm welcome to you, Abhinav, on Coffee with Ashish. It's a privilege to have you with us. And I'm going to request now Ashish to formally welcome you and have a conversation with you while I sit back and enjoy my coffee.
Yeah. Thank you, Karthik.
Well, Abhinav, how's your coffee? Are you having a coffee? Or you're stuck up in France without one?
No, it just on another table. I just had another table. I bought it, but then I was like rushing to get into the meeting.
Right. But two things I must share with the audience. One is, of course, my interaction with you a few years ago on a FICCI panel, where I thought I was a star trying to moderate the panel, but it was the panelist who was being autographed after the panel was over. So I think that was quite an interesting experience for me. And second, little do you know, I followed you pretty closely as part of the Bihar election campaign, where you were urging people to vote for you. So we'll talk about that also, because obviously that's a great role to be playing. And you come from Bihar, you yourself say you come from a smaller region in India, and having moved in the dimension you have moved. So of course now you're in France. And so let's get you first to give your overview on COVID and situation and the impact all around you as you see it while you're based outside India.
Yeah, I was actually in India also, so I've tasted both the flavors. I was stuck
Right.
in India for about 90 days from March 5th to 6th or 7th of June, or maybe 10th of June. So I was stuck in India as well. So I have
Right.
been through the Indian, the one of the most strictest lockdown in the world. So I've been through that as well. And then when I returned to Germany, I think it was already phasing out all the diseases. So it was about 100, 200 odd cases every day coming out in Germany. So I thought, okay, I made it, like I'm out of Delhi and now I'm in a safe haven. But I think in recent days, it has picked up again. So Europe, the cases are rising. It's very alarming. Germany is still controlled, but then the numbers are much higher than the peak what Germany saw last time. And France is suffering a lot. France, I think yesterday gave more than 24,000 cases. Spain is equally troubled. So within Europe, maybe, so what actions they took in the beginning, where they closed the borders between the Europe and Schengen countries, and that was already creating a lot of issues for discussions, and
Right.
like how can Europe stop travel within Schengen countries, and then just to keep their business going on and everything, they opened the Schengen countries again, but now they are still they are again into like getting into this question, they should lock the borders again or not. The movement is still free, but there are some test requirements, people coming from Spain to UK or UK to Spain. Some of the Spanish islands are very much affected. Still the corporate offices are not open. So most of the offices which can operate as work from home, they're operating from outside. Shops and businesses, they are back, they are open. They were already when I told you, like the 2-3 months ago, the cases are very down, so they were already open and everything was fine. But now they are back again to closing it. Strasbourg, like where I am in right now in France, and the city where I was before, so these cities, they will go under lockdown from starting tonight. So after 9-10 o'clock, you're not supposed to step out. So no weekend party activities, no selling of alcohol. So now this is becoming more scarier. So the region I am in right now, it is not a hotspot, but all the other regions in France, they are all hotspots. So traveling within these regions is always risky. You should have a reason why you are traveling. So situation is again turning. So like if we look into the tourism sectors, I was in Venice for about 2.5 months, very close to Venice. And so Venice, I have never seen Venice so empty. Okay, I saw some clips during the lockdown on some news channels, but then when I went myself, it was really very nice with like no
Agree,
amount of people. Yeah, it was very empty. It was very empty. But then also that time also Venice probably would be hosting 4 to 5,000 people, even it was when the crowd was less. And so Venice was opening up, the restaurants, they were in trouble. But before they could open up completely, people, they got support from the government, so they could sustain for a certain time. But before they can come back and open up, it is coming back again. So the restaurant has to be closed in the coming days. And so I think the restaurant and the travel sector, in Europe, I have seen that the restaurants, they have received money as a normal business from the government as a grant, but I don't know about the travel companies, so if they are receiving any grants in Europe or not. But the government is helping, but the situation is again turning very bad, and it will be especially bad for the restaurant and the food industry, that because they have already stretched themselves, paid some of the employees, took care of the rent and expenses. But I think many will start breaking out when this period of COVID precautions will increase.
right. Right. This
Yeah.
is what makes forecasting of tourism so much more difficult, because if you look at India, there is, of course, one traveler which travels out to Europe on a holiday. And as you know, Indians generally combine one or two countries as part of a European vacation. Of course, there are specialists who only want to go to Spain or France or whatever, but general want to compare. So therefore, if Shenzhen is going to have borders between them, so it's not going to make tour operating between European countries. So yeah, that's one scenario, and it could be different for each country. Then if you look at the inbound, it gets more complex, because not only does it look at situation in Spain and Germany and UK and the source markets for India, but it also looks at the various states in India which may also be going through a similar direction, because India opening up does not mean that Jharkhand is opening up as good as
everything is
Maharashtra,
sure,
for example,
sure.
right? So therefore, that places that restriction. And more importantly, India remains still, unfortunately, the number 2 on the list after the US in terms of number of cases.
Sure.
So, the forecasting becomes so much. What do you say to all this? How
so
do you look ahead?
I think most of the countries, they have placed India into a travel restricted area for now. They have given warnings for traveling to India. And but whereas we also have a strict regulation who can come from outside. So I think just 2 or 3 days before, the OCI card holders are now allowed to go back to India. So till now, the OCI card holders, they were still not allowed. So OCI card holders, they feel themselves as a dual citizen, but then they really tasted it during the COVID, when the Indian passport holders can go back to India, but not the OCI card holder. So we also have restrictions. So even if tourism open up, the source market, people are traveling. So people are traveling within Europe. So you see, you can still see a small amount of tourists. I was in Florence, I was in Venice, I was in parts of Rome, where you can see the tourists are there, but those are mostly tourists who would prefer to travel into a caravan where they have their own social area. So if they are 4 family members, they will take precautions, and then they will not stay in a hotel, they will do camping. And so those things are happening. But for everything to open up, I think it's I think it's too early to predict anything what will happen to this.
Right. And again, add the complexity of seasons, because India for incoming is a winter destination, summers being what it is, and Europe again being a summer destination for Indians, right? So there is a complexity of seasons.
So in Europe also, the season, the core summer season, which is like July, August, and the beginning of September, or the end of the beginning of October. So these are the core season for Europeans. But Indian tourists, they start arriving from March end. The Indian, at least the group tourists, the organized business, it starts in Europe from March end, and it goes all the way till October, beginning of October or end of October. So normally the European markets, they see Indian and Asian tourists. So not just India, but India, Asia, like Japan and China. So these tourists, they fill up the pre-season hype. So that's why they get also group deals where packages and hotels are cheaper, because they are actually filling up the pre-summer
inventory.
Yes. And that's why when the group tourists, they will mostly start operating from May and June, when it's already a bit warmer in Europe, because then this is not a peak season for Europe, and then you can get cheaper inventory. And so this is the Europe, the travel starts from March and it goes till October, which is like a huge amount of travel happening from all over the world globally.
Yeah, so various possibilities, and like I said, forecasting is getting more and more difficult for the next few years. But coming back, and you being a digital man, and you being so heavily involved with the digital landscape, what do you see the trends as far as technology and digitalization of the holiday business, of the travel business in generally happening, both overseas and in India, because it has to merge together?
In general, the people are traveling more for necessity. There are people also looking for bargain deals within Europe, like these secluded area where they say that, okay, a social group is there. So within Europe, till last few months, there were a lot of deal hunters and bargain seekers. They were ready to travel. So the students, people who have been working from one place, they got bored. A lot of people in Europe, they also got vacations, and people traveled. So it picked up a bit, but it was not on a professional level. So Europe has the total travel industry didn't start. It was just so you don't make money with the bargain hunter. Like Amsterdam is not making money, people who are staying there for a night. Amsterdam wants you to stay at least for 4 nights, 5 nights, go out and eat also. So those are not so if a student goes, stays in a hostel, comes back, Amsterdam doesn't care about it, because then they don't make the revenue and doesn't benefit the industry at a large. Right. And so the formal travel is very difficult in India, I see. Online bookings which are happening, probably it could be for corporate travel or just like some very random bargain deal. So I see it's a very difficult time. And I think at least the hotel section can still innovate. I see some innovation coming in from different parts where now people are bored of staying in their home for 8-9 months and working from there. So maybe now this concept from work from my hotel or work from my resort, or these things are popping up. So like when I was stuck in Germany, it was a hotspot. I was thinking to go to Split, because now you can rent a villa in Split, which could be all your property and less than $300 or $400 for a month, which would be
Wow.
$3,000 to $5,000 a month in a peak season when you go to Croatia. And so these are the options which properties are exploring. But we need to understand, before Karthik spoke about how the inventory has remained the same in the hotel industry and everything. So look at this. So Airbnb came with a new set of inventory, and so then it how it was changing the existing norm of travel companies, how you have the same amount of inventory. So Airbnb came with new one, but then the problem they were trying to solve, or the solution they were trying to give, was if you have extra space for homes, then you rent it out, like it's a kind of a sharing economy.
Yeah.
But we went full capitalist in them, so people started buying apartments and just leaving it for Airbnb. So now if I find these villas and apartments in Split, probably they are not owned by the Croatian, they're owned by the German, Spanish and French. So they are in their country, they have bought those investment villas for Airbnb, and those are now going cheap. So but this is another part of the like this experiment of Airbnb. But it will take a lot of different innovative ideas for the hotel owners or for the property owners to attract people and tell them how clean they are, because there is no clear timeline. We have never been through this, so we don't know when everything could be fine, and so nobody can give a promise on this.
Yeah, but with no single distribution platform, digital platform for hotels available all over as we speak, how do you see them merging with the ecosystem? I mean, you had to invent Trivago to say, okay, you want the best deal, we'll put 5 meta sites in front of you, you get, but how do you do that now with smaller properties, 5 room, 10 room in India? Sorry, just to add, this particular chain, which is only specializing, they're managing 15, 20 local homestay kind of thing with 5 rooms to 50 rooms, nothing over that. But how do they reach out unless, you know, they merge with the ecosystem? How do you see that?
I think again, coming back to the same point of the boring inventory, the same inventory, the way we search our hotel, the way we book our hotel, this has to change drastically. So I think there has been a long status quo being maintained by companies like Booking, Expedia Group, and now another kind of inventory, Airbnb. But somehow it is not easy for you to make a similar company and beat them. But I'm sure there are people innovating. This whole way of buying hotel or booking hotels or buying holidays or booking holidays, it has to go through a change. This has been constant from a huge, like a very long period of time. And so I expect so whatever, and I think COVID could be one of the agents to probably make people think more. There are new models coming up. So every time, because I'm ready to travel, so I get a lot of requests on LinkedIn to talk to startups and their ideas. And then I hear, like, I can see a lot of people are trying to innovate and get into the territories of Expedia and Booking. And but then let's see, I cannot say that whatever I think would be the perfect thing. So let's see if somebody breaks out from that and makes a new thing. So I feel this will change. This system has not been very profitable for the hoteliers. This system has not been very interesting for the users, because you have a huge choice, but then the systems, what they promise in the beginning, that they will give me more personalized search, that things which I want, I get dumped with huge amount of data, huge amount of hotel inventory, which I really, it is, again, it makes it more difficult to go through and navigate and find like which hotel I really need to book. You go and you find, maybe, let's see, you find a property, you want to book a property, you have 3,000 reviews. What you will do with 3,000 reviews? How many you want to read? So you need a specialized search engine which can really aid and help you to make a decision quickly instead of, oh, you have all the option, now choose it. Or you can choose it by star. Oh, yeah, I know I can choose it by star, but do something which like helps me, really helps me. So I think this whole the way we search, this has to change. I have this comment, and I'm waiting like
Yeah,
who will
yeah,
break this here.
yeah, yeah. And add to it the rules and regulations, because if you are in a hotel aggregator, and if you're picking up inventory from 5, 6 API sources, then you'll have the same room coming with different pricing for the same hotel. And then there is a fine print to say rate with breakfast, rate without breakfast, rate if you check in so many days. And it's a really a complex situation. I agree with you.
Yeah. And then it doesn't solve the issue. So
Yeah.
what was the issue? It was not that we could, before also we could call a travel agent and he could book a hotel.
Yeah.
So, but we were not sure what kind of room you're getting. Will these things will be available? Like, it is all about taking a decision to book, how much time or how many clicks you will take to make a booking on the property.
Right. So on top of it, now with COVID, there's the consumer confidence, both in terms of safety and in terms of economic propensity to spend. So what do you see in your way which revived the consumer confidence all around? Is it just the economy coming up? Is it the safety? Is it the vaccine? What do you see? How do you see it go?
I think now we are expecting a vaccine. We are waiting for, but then I think it is going down now. The way it feels like the 3 months ago, oh, there is a vaccine there. It's coming next week. It's coming next
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah,
Somebody
yeah.
has released. So now those news are also gone. So I remember when I was in India, one of the days during the lockdown, Italy reported 400 deaths. And then I was having my breakfast in the hotel in India, and I was like scared, and the way the news was that Italy 400 people dead. So what is coming now? So it really scared me. And now we look at numbers, the way we have normalized and accepted and generalized it. So we are not. I think a hope for a vaccine for sure will give a positive a mindset to people, and then they might go out and spend. But I still feel many people they all kind of people, they are like deniers. They don't feel that there is any COVID and they should walk out. There are people who feel that COVID is there, I should take some precaution, but I can still go out, but it doesn't matter a lot, I can still, like, it will not happen to me. So they are different kind of people, and I think one of the things which will move them more to spend or to travel would be more money coming to them. So people who have not lost job, people who have been working, they are fine. But there has been a lot of job issues also during this crisis. And if they are not, if they cannot be funded, like if they have lost their salaries, so there's the economic stimulus required. This is what I see around me happening. So I saw it in Italy, I saw it in Germany, I saw it in France, where the governments are opening and money is directly going to the people. So once the money goes, then there are a lot of these, the people who are unemployed, they get the money, then they might want to spend. And the reason to give them the money is to restart the market, that people start spending. So I think more economic stimulus and ease of availability of cash or credit, that will help the market to grow.
Yeah, I think London has started that. They shut it down now, of course, that 50% of your bill for eating out would be paid by the government if you go out and
Wonderful.
eat.
I think Italy has done something similar for travel. So they have like the tax department has done something with the resorts, the seasonal resorts, which are open only during summer because they're not having any business. So they are giving the taxpayers some receipt that they can go and stay in these resorts, and then somehow the government is paying for each of the stays. Something they are doing the similar thing.
So I'm going to keep the hot and dusty political environment and your experience in Bihar for last, but I'm going to lead into a discussion. There's so much, of course, being spoken about internet being penetrating in India, in tier 2, 3, 4 city. And I think there is probably nobody better than you to see how does it affect a guy in Darbhanga who wants to book not a holiday, but at least a train ticket. How do you see this internet reaching down to the grassroots level, not only for e-commerce in general, but travel in specific? How do you see that happening in distribution?
it has really helped. It has really helped. Like the places I have been in India, some of the very remote places close in Bihar and close to my village, and this places, it has completely changed. So I went to a village which was almost 10 kilometers from the district, the headquarters, the government machinery, about 18 or 8 kilometers or something like, not very far. But this part of the village, it is cut from India for almost about 6 to 7 months
Oh, wow.
because of flooding. So they have no connection. They all go to stay on their terraces. So it's just normal. Like and I say like what the government is doing. So like if you just go and ask them. So I have been to this kind of village, which is like, which becomes remote for 6 months from the main country, where nobody knows what's happening to them, if they will survive, or it is up to them what medicine they have. If they survive, then they can rejoin. Once the water recedes, they can rejoin the Indian continent. Otherwise, they're out. And there I went, and then I was just going around. I was talking to random farmers because I take interest in the farmer issues, and so I know that nobody knows me here, that I appear on TV. So I was just like usual in my dialect, going around in the field, and then two guys, they come and they recognize me. And I said, how come? Like this village, like who has a TV here, or who knows me? And it was the power of internet. It was the power of internet. And the way, then these two guys, they took me to a school also, where they are collecting people and teaching on cell phone. They are showing videos and doing presentation on cell phone. So sometimes it is not always needed. At least we have made ourselves so much Atmanirbhar right from the beginning, that if you just give us the technology, we will use it in the best possible way. We use it in the worst also, but there are examples people are using in the best way also. There are this says school, not school, a group of people, they will teach how to fill up all the sarkari job ka online forms. So this is the good thing they do. They teach you how to book Indian Railway ticket, how to apply for Indian Railway job. So these kind of presentation, and everyone comes with they all have the cheap Chinese phones and everything. That is the easily available thing for them, and they come and collect and they do it. And so this is the power of technology, which you can see, which may not be seen like in other news and everything, but there are people there. So they just want a kind of a way or tool which can be used. You just give it to them and people will make nice use of it. And the way internet penetration has grown, if you see, even in terms of video consumption, advertising, online video advertising. So if you are coming with an internet company, if you have a product on internet, you don't want to reach out to the people on TV who might not have access to internet. And so right now, internet as a medium, even to advertise, to reach out to masses, and to reach out to a mass from marketing, which can be measured. So it is not like we just dump a kind of a chunk on TV, or I spend this much budget on TV and then this has happened. So internet is giving you many different tools. It is giving tools for the people to develop better. It is giving tools to the marketers to measure better. It is giving tools to the product managers to invent better. So internet and its penetration, because more and more the second and third tier cities come in, the product managers will get those responses in the product surveys, that what kind of product we have to make for them. We might have the like India might have, like right now, 400 to 500 million, maybe no, it's 600 million, no, 600 it is above 600 million. Yeah, but we know that about 80 to 100 million is the transacting user, not the whole chunk is a transacting user. But it is not that they will never do. Probably we need to innovate more. We need to deliver some products or some services which will serve their needs, and they will also transact, because they are already in the first phase of the funnel. So they have started using internet. They have at least started creating accounts. So they have the first part of security of creating your user ID and password and keeping it secure. Then banking and credit card and those things will come later, because that is kind of like a higher maturity level on your spending on internet. So this the internet companies has to do more education. It is reaching right now. You have the right medium, and this will just help us to grow and reach to the next billion user.
Then, and I also strongly believe that I think that's where the foundation of the travel and tourism business lies, at the middle and the bottom of the pyramid, to be able to lift it up. But coming back to railways and coming back to Bihar. So there's this very interesting answer I got from one of the startups I was mentoring, who specifically got into only train booking. So I asked him, I said, what made you change into one of the worst thing, and that is booking railways? He says,
there is no commission. Yeah.
And there's no, I mean, it's a thankless job, as we call it.
Yeah.
So he says, sir, hum Bihar se aate hain. From going to school to going to college, there was nothing available in our town. We were taking trains all our life. And we saw the pains which we went through ourselves. Ki yehi nahi pata ki confirmed hogi, nahi confirmed hogi. He said, that's what gave me the inspiration that I must start a platform where people are getting visibility, whether will they be confirmed, will they not be confirmed, whether they can, So that's what internet teaches you in time. So lastly, just before we conclude, your little experience on the Bihar elections and enticing people to vote.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So it was not me contesting, or I was not canvassing for anyone. Right. Actually, I was volunteering for the election commission, and I was appointed as the district icon to go and motivate young voters to come and vote for anyone. So it was more like a volunteer kind of thing, just for the election commission, just to promote the habit of people to go and vote. So, and that was also a good exercise. So I that time when I explored more of Bihar, so I was taken. I have not been I didn't study in a government school, so I went to even a school in my village, which was a private school, and then I went to a boarding school. So then this time I got to see the schools in Bihar, and then this was very nice to go inside and interact. Maybe I was the government authorities, and I was more interested in talking about politics and asking them to go and vote. But they had very different questions, because many of them, they knew me. They all had questions about startups, how to do this. If I want to make a product, can the startup only be on internet? Can't we make things? And I said, they're like 10 student, 12 student, and they had those kind of questions in remote villages of Bihar. So they and that's for the reason I keep some lines open for some people. If they have those kind of things, then I'm ready to discuss. Like if the kid has something interesting, we will talk it on Saturday and Sunday. Let's see if I can reach out to some of my contacts and connect this guy to someone. And so these things are happening. And so it was more like a volunteer activity. So anyhow, being a Bihari, you know a lot about politics, and it's a kind of a interest matter for you. So maybe sometime people can enjoy watching cricket, but maybe sometime I can just enjoy watching a kind of a nice dissection of some relation into politics, like what has happened, what was the relation previously. So this could be a very interesting content for me. This just comes because if you are from Bihar.
No, very good. And very interesting about this internet thing you mentioned, because on my shows, I've been telling my guests that I like to see the day when the next Make My Trip comes from Shillong. Why should it be coming from Gurgaon? So maybe that will be another day and another chat we will have, Abhinav. Hopefully very soon. And thank you so much for coming in and on with coffee. And I like the little screenshot you put. Please send it to me.
Sure. I think that was with
I'll
Karthik.
send it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Karthik and Ashish. Thank you for inviting me, and it was really nice talking to you. Yeah.
Good. All the best and be safe.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Bye.